everyone, and welcome to Fright Bites, your source for short horror reviews. I'm the Fear Fan, and today I'm bringing you a study in contrasts. Last time, I couldn't help but lament the choices that caused the Dark Tower to crumble from trying to support the weight of its legacy with absolutely no substance, and now I'm back with a second King adaptation that had even bigger expectations weighing it down, but which, nonetheless, has managed to both meet them and float above them. I'm not going to lie or prevaricate. It is quite possibly the best big screen adaptation of King's horror work, and even if you remove the horror from that previous sentence, it still holds its own against the likes of Stand By Me and Shawshank Redemption. Yeah, it's that good. And for those wondering how this could be, it's simple, really. Unlike The Dark Tower, it follows the cardinal rules of adaptation by keeping the things that worked from the book and updating and replacing those elements that didn't translate well to the screen. In terms of what works, it manages to find the heart and soul of Stephen King's writing. Not necessarily the scares, but characters so vibrant and relatable that they seem to jump right off the screen, and who make you genuinely fear for them when they're in danger. Whereas The Dark Tower completely rewrote its source material's characters, removing much of their nuance and complexity, it, through excellent casting and good writing, manages to capture the soul of each member of the Losers Club, each of whom is played by an extremely talented young actor, all of whom I hope to see in more films as their careers progress. And all of them inhabit a world that feels authentic. This version of Derry, Maine feels every bit as fully realized as it did in the novel. It's a place that's at once threatening and inviting, and it's clear this is an A-plus production. But with great protagonists and a lively setting, that leaves one major factor that could make or break the movie. It itself. The first question everybody's going to have, and perhaps justifiably so, is obvious. How does Skarsgård's performance stand up against the iconic 1990 Tim Curry Pennywise? Well, while it's probably going to earn me some hate mail, I feel that Pennywise 2017 blows the previous interpretation out of the water. While Curry did give a great performance in the original, I wouldn't exactly call it frightening. Having come to the 90s miniseries later in life, I don't have a lot of nostalgia for Curry's clown, but I can still acknowledge that he's the best part of a pretty mediocre adaptation. By contrast, Skarsgård has the benefit of being surrounded by high production value and some great special effects, and while there are moments when he's a terrifying blur of motion and sound, he usually opts for an understated giddiness and affability that seems to barely mask a ravenous hunger. In short, when I watch the original, I feel like Tim Curry is a very scary man wearing a clown suit, but in the new one, I feel like Pennywise is a scary thing wearing a man in a clown suit. And to me, that just seems to fit the character better. There are a few minor gripes to be had though, such as a preponderance of jump scares and a few scenes of horror that don't quite land their punches. Still, as I said before, the young cast's performances manage to help sell even the duds, and things don't always need to be piss-your-pants terrifying to make a good horror film. For examples of what I'm talking about, look no further than the era that it itself depicts. I'm talking about the 80s, movies like Poltergeist or Fright Night, both special effects intensive horror movies that, while they do have a few moments that are genuinely frightening, still manage to win out based on their ingenuity and the fact that they have genuinely affecting and interesting plots and characters that you care about. In fact, my one major concern about It has nothing to do with this film, but rather its already in production sequel. Cary Fukunaga, originally tapped to direct before his replacement over creative differences, was also the writer of one of the first drafts of the screenplay. As much as I love how the first chapter turned out, I'm worried that his absence might deprive Chapter 2 of the magic that makes Part 1 special. Still, regardless of that fear, Chapter 2, which will follow the Losers Club as adults, is already rolling, and while they did a great job of updating the kids' fears for the 80s in this one, it'll be interesting to see how they update the adults' fears for the 2000s. You can expect to see Pennywise appear as a volatile housing market, commitment, a sternly worded letter from the IRS, and a doctor looking at their charts, then going, In short, if you're looking for the most terrifying horror movie you've ever seen, you're going to be disappointed. But if you are looking to see a Stephen King adaptation that manages to capture what makes his work special and a damn good time at the movies, then you won't just walk out of the theater, you'll float. Anyway, that's all we've got time for this week. I'll see you next time on Fright Bites. There's only one thing a man good for. Eat the rest. Take one bite now, come back for more. Eat the rest.
trigger, and I told him what I'd done. He said, you best go on a diet, yeah.